Hey everyone, Jim here, Boots and Whiskey Podcast. Welcome to our yearly birthday episode. Today we have Scotty Hastings on the show. And before I start, wow, do I look tired? Whew. Anyway, birthday episode, birthday week. It has started off kind of crazy. But we're here. We are working on us. We're doing it. We're positive steps. Scotty Hastings is here. Scotty is one of those artists that you may have noticed he was on the CMAs this year. He was featured with a really cool thing with uh I literally just lost my train of thought. Um oh my god. Why? Crown Royal. Oh, wow. See what happens when you're losing sleep? You start to lose your mind a little bit too. Crown Royal, Scott Hastings, they did a cool thing for vets. We talk about it in the episode. He's also got a song coming out uh, this Friday, March 7th. Go check it out. And that's it. We talk a lot about things. I'm gonna let him talk and do his thing. So thank you for being here from the bottom of my heart. Thank you for being a part of our birthday episode. And we will see you on the flip side. Happy March 4th. Best day of the year. Cheers.
Perfect.
So this show is about you.
All
We're
right.
gonna talk about we're obviously gonna talk about the song, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I think your story before music, starting music as recently as you have, is way more impressive than anybody I think I've ever had on the show.
Well, I appreciate that. Thank you.
So if you want, why don't you tell people a little bit about like who you are? Because I mean, anybody that watched the CMA Awards last year should know who the hell you are.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
for anybody that didn't,
That was wild.
and we're gonna get to it. Don't you
Okay.
worry. All right.
Yeah. My name's Scotty Hasting. I am a combat wounded Army infantryman turned singer, songwriter, and recording artist, which is crazy still to say. Yeah. Yeah.
So well how do you decide to pick up a guitar and like was this something that was music something you always had an interest in, or was it just
I've been singing for a long time. It was
okay?
just kind of like a hobby, something that I did in the car or in the shower and never let
Sure.
anyone hear. Um, and really music didn't really become a thing until COVID.
Okay.
At the time, so I had gotten shot in Afghanistan. I was shot 10 times in
Holy
Afghanistan
shit.
and, and then I came back and I found like an escape and a sense of purpose in archery. And I shot archery with the U.S. Paralympic program, traveled all over the country and represented the United States. Like it was amazing, and it was exactly what I needed when I needed it. And I was able to find that a little bit of an escape and a little bit of sense of purpose in that. And then COVID happened and the world shut down. And when it gets quiet is when the demons knock the loudest. And COVID was very quiet.
Dude.
And I needed something. I needed something to get out of my head. I needed something to focus on and really put all of myself into. And I had a guitar. I've always had a guitar in the corner of my room. And one day I decided I'm going to learn how to play this thing. And I jumped on YouTube and just deep dove into learning how to play the guitar. And and I was able to find a little bit of an escape from all the bad that I deal with on a daily basis,
Yeah.
and learning how to play the guitar. And then it went from there to, well, I have all these thoughts and all these feelings and I need to put them somewhere. And so then I went on YouTube again and I started learning how to write songs and how songs are structured and how you go from a verse to a chorus to a bridge. Like, how does all that work? And then I just started taking my feelings and my thoughts and my emotions and just throwing them on a piece of paper. Not that, I mean, they weren't really songs. I mean, it was literally just like word vomit at this time because
Yeah.
I suffer from PTSD, depression, and anxiety, and I needed to just get it out. Um, so I was able to do that, and I was able to get again another little bit of an escape and another sense of purpose in learning how to write songs. And then fast forward a little bit, and the world started opening up again. And I went to Cookeville, Tennessee, for an open mic night one day. Um, and I said, you know what? Screw it, man. I know these songs now that I've been learning on the guitar just to get that little bit of an escape. I'm just going to go up and I'm going to play I'm going to play one song. So I put my name on the list, and I played the first song I ever learned how to play, which was "Should Have Been a Cowboy" by Toby Keith. And then in that moment, like that escape and that sense of purpose that I had found in everything, it was there, but it was magnified 100 times. And in that moment, the stage became my sanctuary, and it became the place where I could truly escape from all of the crap that I deal with on a daily basis and just live in a moment. Um, so then from there, I just, the world started opening up again, and then Nashville started opening up, and I walked up and down Broadway for a month, bugging the crap out of every single booker in the place until they finally put me on stage. And at one point in time, I was playing 5 to 6 nights a week because for those 4 hours that I had per day, nothing in the world mattered except being in that moment. The PTSD, the depression, the anxiety, it was all gone for 4 hours a day. And I lived for those moments, and I lived for that time. And my vocal cords hated me so much, but it was so worth it. And it was
Yeah.
everything that I needed. And now God, man, now it's become a career, and I have a
Yeah.
platform where I can try to help people through my music or through my story to try to find something the way that I was able to find something in music.
You know, it's it's funny, not like funny haha, but funny like interesting. Like all year, I've been going through some personal stuff the last year and a half, almost 2 years now, where my anxiety, depression, like a lot of things, I've never gone through something like you have. I'm not trying to like compare apples to
No,
apples
no,
here,
I
but
mean,
um, I've had conversations with a lot of people on this show in the last year about those sorts of things, right? I mean, hell, I had Cody Jinks on for an hour and a half, and I think most of it, that's what we talked about,
yeah,
right? And let me ask you, for the people that are out there that, may need to hear it,
yeah.
what would you say, or maybe there isn't, a difference between a PTSD and anxiety and all that stuff through something you've gone through
Yeah.
than something, somebody suffering from it from something not to diminish anything, but
Mhm.
not as traumatic as you went through.
I think PTSD, depression, and anxiety, it sucks regardless.
Sure,
Um,
absolutely.
but I think for me, it manifests differently than someone
Sure.
else who's been through something else. For me, it's having to relive that moment every day, and
Right.
really a lot of times like PTSD, depression, anxiety looks very similar. It doesn't matter what you
Yeah.
go through. It's all just a reaction in your mind, and
Right.
in your heart and in your soul, and I
Yeah.
don't think that, I. That's why people are always like, oh well, I did this, but it was nothing like you. Well, it's kind of relative. It doesn't.
Right. Yeah.
I don't
Sure.
think. I don't think. It's it. I don't have PTSD any more than anybody else because of what happened to me.
Okay. All
I
right.
I don't have depression or anxiety any more than anybody else
Right.
because of what happened. I think if you suffer from it, you suffer from it, and it
Yeah.
doesn't. I don't think that how it happened really plays that big of a difference in it.
Yeah. I think that's probably the best answer I've ever heard
Yeah.
with that sort of thing, because I think you're absolutely right.
Mhm.
Um, so you go through all this stuff, you start writing songs, you go to Nashville. I mean, 2020, 2025, or at the beginning of 25, like,
Yeah.
dude, it's like it's gone fast.
Yeah, I actually lived in Nashville before music was even a thing. I lived
Oh,
here,
okay.
so I got out of the military in Fort Riley, Kansas, and I'm originally from the Cincinnati, Northern Kentucky area. So I wanted to be closer to home anyhow, and a lot of my guys that were at Fort Riley in Kansas, they were all coming here to Fort Campbell, and I was like, well, man, that's closer to home anyhow. Like, I'll go with y'all. Like, why not? And then I got here and I fell in love with Nashville, and I
Yeah.
just felt like this is where I needed to be, and that was way before music was everything. That was in
Yeah.
2015.
So
Um,
what? God,
yeah, you're good.
I was just gonna say, when you started writing these songs and writing songs in general,
Mhm.
were you trying to write country songs, or were you just writing whatever the hell came out?
Yeah, no. When I first started, it was literally just I needed to get feelings and put them somewhere else before the cup overflows. It was
Yeah.
literally just I'm doing this because I need to put this somewhere else. And that's all for me. That's all it was
Yeah.
for a long time, for a good month or 2 months or something like that. It was just me just word vomiting on paper. And then really that was it. And it just kind of sat there. It
Yeah.
was just a way for me to get all of my feelings and put them into one place.
Now, when you started doing that, did you ever reach out to anybody and be like, "Hey, like I have all these ideas. I'm trying to write these songs, but I don't think it's, good enough yet. Can
Yeah.
you help?" Like who were you reaching out to for help? Were you?
Yeah, I wasn't. For me, I was good with what I was doing. For
Yeah.
me, playing guitar and writing songs at that time that we're talking about, I was good with it. I just needed it for the therapeutic reasons. I didn't care about making a career out of it. I didn't think that was even going to be a thing. I never thought that was going to be, the route that I was going to take. I was just using it because I needed something to focus on and I needed to get feelings and thoughts and get out of my head. And that's all I used it for. And I was good with it. I was
Yeah.
100% good with that. And even when I did even when I went up and did the open mic night, like when I put my name on the list, it was kind of me just saying, you know what, why not? Let's give it a
Right.
shot. Like I know these songs, like I just want to go try it. Let's just see what happens. It wasn't this thought of like, oh, well, this is going to be this is my next career move. It was just, why not?
Right.
And I did it. And then that's when the stage became my sanctuary, and it became my escape on steroids. And I was like, this is what I need to do forever. Like I
Right.
need to figure out a way to do this all the time. And then I played on Broadway, and I was good with that. Broadway, I was playing on Broadway 4 hours at a time. I was getting the therapy that I needed. I was feeling great about myself. And really the whole signing a record deal and a publishing deal, like that all happened by chance.
Yeah.
It was this was never the thought. This was never the career move. This was never the dream until it was.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
S- It just blows my mind because it's like you hear so many people, especially doing what I do. Like you hear so many people and how long they grinded and all this stuff, and that's nothing to say like what you did or how you did it was wrong, right? But it's so fascinating how for some people it takes, it's a 10-year town, right? And then
Absolutely.
here it is 5 years and you've been on the CMAs, you've done this, you've done that. It's like,
Yeah.
and like anybody that has or hasn't listened to your music, you get a lot of songs out there that are like turn it up and,
Hmm.
pour a drink kind of
Yeah.
tunes for
Absolutely.
for having that therapy and putting it all out and all that stuff. There, you still have such a positive outlook.
Yeah. I learned. There was a moment when I was at Walter Reed. That I was at an event, and this leads up to another song that I ended up recording and putting out. So there was an event that we were doing, and at Walter Reed, we would always do these different events and stuff. And while I was there was a song that came on called "Till the Last Shot's Fired." Trace Atkins originally cut it, and it was the first time I had ever heard it. And it was like it touched a part of my heart that I didn't know existed, and I cried like a baby for like 2 hours. Um, and in that moment, that was the moment that I decided that I was going to live my life to the fullest, and I was going to not let my injury dictate my life, and I was going to live my life for my friends that would never have the opportunity. And of course, that means there's going to be days when I feel terrible. There's going to be days when I just don't feel like enough. But some of the greatest people I've ever known will never have the opportunity to do anything ever again.
Yeah,
And I
Scotty,
need.
we're not crying today, Scotty. We're not doing it. We're not doing it.
um, but and that's kind of where this positive, try to stay positive, try to stay optimistic.
Yes.
That's kind of where it came from. Was just this overwhelming sense of I had a responsibility that
Yeah.
that I had to live my life for the greatest people I've ever known that would never have the opportunity. And
Yeah.
and that doesn't mean that I don't have bad days, because I absolutely do. Um, but that just means that I try not to.
Right. Right.
Yeah, yeah, man. I mean, it's and literally 10 years later, I'm sitting in the office, and one of the guys who wrote the dang song, Doug Johnson, here at Black River, and he's like, "Hey, you want to do a version of that song?" And I was like, what? Yes, man,
Right.
absolutely.
Right.
So then we did a version, and like every feeling that I felt when I first heard that song, I put it into that song, and it was perfect. You know, I had my version and it was perfect. And Doug was like, "Yeah, man, this is really good. We could put it out like this, or we could reach out to some other artists. What do you think?" And I was like, "Send it to everybody, man. Let's see what happens. Like, why not?" And then Lee Bryce was the first person that said, he's like, "Man, I don't care what part I play in this. I want to be a part of what you're doing here." So then he jumped on it, and then we had a version with me and Lee, and it was perfect. Again, I thought. You know, fast forward a couple weeks, and I'm driving somewhere, and Doug calls me, and he's like, "Hey, man, Dolly Parton wants to be on the song. What do you think?" And I was like, "Don't call me. Just let her do whatever she wants. It's Dolly Parton,
Take it
dude.
off.
Like what?" Um, and then so yeah, a couple of weeks later after that, he calls me again. He's like, "Hey, man, like I have Dolly's version. Do you want to hear it?" And I was like, again, I feel like these are conversations we don't need to have. Just send it, man. Like,
Right.
um, and he did, and it was like the first time that I had heard it all over again. Like it reached in and touched a part of my soul, man. And I pulled over on the side of the road and cried, man. And I just couldn't stop myself. And it wasn't even so much that this song that I thought was perfect truly became perfect in that moment. It was the fact that like you said, I've been doing this for 5 years. This was never the thought. This was
Right.
never the dream. And now I have two legendary artists who will their music will literally live forever, and they took the time out of their lives. They could have said no, and they could have
Right.
moved on and continued being successful, but they took the time to not only be a part of my song but be a part of my journey and my story. And I think just, you know, from this incredible song that truly became perfect to the weight of just knowing that these amazing individuals wanted to be a part of something that I was doing. It was incredibly overwhelming, but in like the best way. Um,
Yeah.
yeah.
You know, it's I have I have this really weird. This is gonna come out really awkward. But I have this like love affair for Lee Bryce. Like absolute like that dude could sing me the phone book, right?
Oh yeah.
And you know, he's to me, he's one of those artists that, you know, when you think of like the top five best country artists in country music outside of being in the industry, like
Yep.
Lee Bryce doesn't ever hit that list for some
Yeah.
reason,
I
right? But
don't know
to
why.
me, he is like one of the most underrated country artists,
I
maybe of
agree.
all time.
I agree. I mean, it's crazy. So I opened for him again. Crazy as hell to say. I opened for him last year, and I was standing side stage for the whole show, and it was the best show I've ever been to.
Yeah,
Dude, it's like, I mean, and I think like when you go to a Lee Bryce song, you really realize like how many hits he has, and you're
yeah,
like, oh my god, like holy
yep,
crap, this song, and like he's just like vocally, he makes it seem so effortless, and it's like, dude, what? Lee Bryce doesn't get the respect he deserves
no, he
for.
does. No,
Absolutely.
you know, as a boy dad, right? And that sounds weird to say too. Um, like I listen to Boy, and
Mhm.
I could literally having the greatest day of my life, right?
Yeah,
Cry like a baby, like
absolutely. Yeah,
you,
I remember I used to sing that song to my sons. Absolutely.
yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. It's just wild, you
It
know.
really is. It's amazing,
Um,
man.
so for an instance like that, like so you're not in the room when they cut their parts of the song, though, are you?
I was for Lee.
Okay,
We went out to his place. He's got this new studio that he just built on his property, on his farm out there, and it is incredible, man. And yeah, I got to be there for it. And there, you know, there's just something so special about like, you know, I've looked up to Lee for a long. I love Lee's music. I've always loved his music, and there's just something so magical and special about seeing someone who is so good at something do it. You know, like it was just like I was just lost, man. I was just watching him record this part, and it was just like, yeah, I was just it was like I was in a whole nother world, man. And I was just it was just there's just something so incredible about
yeah,
seeing someone who is so good at something
yeah,
do what they're good at, and it was amazing.
yeah. Now, when you open, you know, you've opened shows for a bunch of really great artists, right?
Mhm. Yep.
Now, when you do open shows like that, does it get that creativeness? into you where it's like, all right, I've seen now what they're doing. How can I don't want to say shift, but like, how can I use that
Yeah,
for my next
100%.
song or whatever?
I love, like, if I open for someone, I want to stand side stage and watch them perform. The first time I ever opened for someone, it was Dave Grohl. I opened for Dave Grohl, and it was a an acoustic performance that we did in Arizona. And I played my little set. I got off. Dave went up and played his set, and it was the first time that I had ever like stood side stage and watched an artist do what they do. And it was incredible, man. Like, I've never seen someone feed off of the energy that, like, you see him project the energy, and then you see it come right back to him, man. And it was so cool. And in that moment I was like, from now on, every single person that I open for, I am going to stand here and I'm going to watch how they do it, and I'm going to watch what they do, and I'm going to try to adapt whatever it is and take pointers and tips or whatever I can do, because these people, I mean, Dave Grohl, I mean, arguably one of the
Right,
greatest rock and roll artists of all time. I
right,
mean, he's been in
right,
two of the greatest rock and roll bands of all time. And it was,
right.
and I'm lucky enough and blessed enough to be surrounded by people who have been incredibly successful in this industry. And I try my hardest to just be a fly on the wall and just
Yeah,
watch what happens and take it all in.
yeah. Dave Grohl is the Kevin Bacon of music.
100%.
He's done it all with
He's
everybody.
done it all, man. Absolutely.
Um, so let's talk a little bit about the CMA thing, because that was,
Oof.
I'm not gonna lie to you, like I've been following you now for a while, and I'm sitting there and I'm watching the CMAs with a friend of mine, and I'm like, fuck Scotty do on the CMAs. So how did that all come to be?
And that was through my really good friends, Creative Vets. They have become like family to me, and they were doing um, this spotlight for Crown Royal about music and about how it's used as therapy. And what, when I opened for Dave Grohl, it was through Crown Royal. So Crown Royal reached out to Creative Vets. Again, it was when I opened for Dave Grohl, it was through Creative Vets and Crown Royal. So Crown Royal reached out again. They said, "Hey, we want to spotlight an artist who is using music like this in this form, and in the way, but we also want to talk about Creative Vets a little bit, and how music can be used as therapy." And they were like, "We know Scotty does that. Do you have a way to get a hold of Scotty? We would love for this to be a thing." So Crown Royal and Creative Vets reached out, um, at first we just thought it was going to be like kind of tell my story and really talk about how music has how I've used it as a form of therapy, and how it saved my life and changed my life. I don't think any of us ever thought it would be as big as it was.
Yeah,
It was insane. It was
yeah,
absolutely insane, man. And it was truly one of the greatest moments of my life, especially because I had my 12-year-old daughter with me, and it was like, man, it was one of the greatest moments of my life,
yeah.
really.
Now when they record something, you don't have to dig too much into it, but obviously everybody knows that whole segment is pre-recorded.
Yes.
you know,
Mhm.
so like, how long does that something like that take? Like, I know it wasn't the longest thing in the
Yeah,
world, but
it wasn't that bad. I mean, we actually ended up putting on like a whole show at Exit In. Like,
oh,
we had
nice.
a legitimate show that they taped. And it was awesome. I mean, it was probably all in maybe like a month.
Oh,
Um,
all right.
but I mean, that's not including like all the talks that my team did before that, what that I wasn't a
Right,
part of. But
right.
um, but all in for videoing and everything else, like putting a show together at Exit In, like it was probably about a month. I mean, but
Nice.
I mean, we put on a legitimate like hour-long show for this, these people who came out to support, and it was amazing. It was absolutely
Yeah.
amazing. So when
Now,
you see like the part in it where I'm singing, that was part
right.
of that show. Like, it was
Oh,
it was for real.
now, at what point after, or even before filming the whole segment and whatnot, did you know that they were going to have you come up on stage and do all that?
Yeah, we had an idea that Nate was going to go on stage, and then he was going to kind of point out, to me a little bit, and just be like, "Hey, man, whatever." Um, I didn't we didn't think that it would be like everyone focus on Scotty right now thing,
Gotcha. Okay.
which it became, and it was amazing, man. And
Right.
I don't, like I said, I don't think any of us ever thought it was going to be as big as it was, and
Yeah.
it's yeah. I don't.
And that I'm sure. I mean, every no, a lot of people like to shy away from seeing numbers go up, but I'm sure that night and the days after, your numbers, social media wise, music
Yeah.
wise, I like
Yep.
must have shot through the roof.
Yeah, they definitely went up for sure. The coolest part was that I was starting to get messages from like veterans and people like that who are using music as therapy as well. So
That's
it was really cool to see like that, you know,
that it
that they
worked.
understood that they're not the only ones doing this, or
Right.
they're not the only ones that are suffering, or they're not the only ones that are dealing with the stuff that I deal with. And it was cool to see that there's a whole community of people out there that are using music as a form of therapy within the military world. And it was really, really cool.
So how much Crown Royal did they send you?
I man, I got a bunch.
Yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure.
No, Crown Royal has been incredible. They really have. They from the first time that I opened for Dave Grohl, we really created a relationship within Crown Royal, and they have supported me a lot. Actually, it's so funny. I received a special bottle from them when I made my Grand Ole Opry debut. I received a bottle from them in the mail that said "Congratulations on the Grand Ole Opry debut," and I was like, "What the like what?" I wasn't expecting that at all,
That's
but
awesome.
they've been, they've been following my career, and we've been, we anytime we can work together, we do. I mean, they truly are doing a lot to try to help veterans.
Now, let me ask you this, and this is way off topic, but that's fine. Um, how does they're a Canadian company, right?
Yeah.
So how are they so involved with like what we do here with our vets in the States?
I think that
I don't
honestly,
think it's
I
a bad
believe
thing.
that.
I'm just more,
Yeah, I honestly, if I had to guess, I would think that it's someone up in the higher level that just has a soft spot for
yeah.
veterans, whether it be the Canadian veterans, because I know they do a lot for the Canadian veterans as well.
Oh, okay.
So whether it be the Canadian veterans or the American veterans, I feel like there's just someone up there that just has a soft spot for them, man, and
Yeah.
and they do a lot, man. They
Yeah.
save people's lives, dude, and it's incredible. It really is.
Now, seeing you brought it up, I guess I'll bring it up too. How was your Opry debut?
Oh my God, man. I mean, it's that's the mountaintop, man. I
Yeah.
mean, I don't know,
There's
like,
nothing else you can say.
yeah, I mean, yeah, no, man, I've never felt emotions like I did when I was on that stage.
Yeah.
It's like when you step in that circle, you just feel the weight of all the history before you, man, and it was insane.
Yeah.
Um, it's just it's a thing that you always hope and want to have happen, and then you don't, and then it does, and it's like this is the greatest thing ever, and then it's done, and you're like,
Right.
oh no, hold on, like look it up.
I'm not done. We're not
um
done.
and it was incredible, man. And the best, I truly, the most amazing part of all of it was that number one, Gary Sinise asked me to come out and do it because it was the 30th anniversary of Forrest Gump. So I got to sing Fortunate Son, which is very much a soldier song.
Yep.
Um, and then I got to sing my song called How Do You Choose, which is a song about my survivor's guilt and my best friend being killed in Afghanistan. The most amazing part of the entire night was that Adam Hamilton, my best friend, his family was in the crowd that night. So and they know that song is for him. So it was amazing to be able to have Ham there with me. But then after I got done playing that song, they showed a picture of Adam Hamilton behind me on the big screen, and it was incredible, man. And
Yeah.
like, yeah, like during sound check, I cried like a baby.
Oh, I'm
I
sure.
mean,
I'm sure.
it was just like overwhelming emotions, man. And
Yeah.
I was like, well, thank God I got it out of the way. So whenever we actually go to play, hopefully that doesn't happen.
Right.
Um, but man, it was incredible. It was one of it again, another one of the most amazing experiences that I've ever had.
Now, do you have one? Who called you to say that you were going to make your Opry debut?
Gary Sinise,
Oh, did he?
Lieutenant Dan, yeah, which is crazy. There's like a whole backstory to this. So when I was at Walter Reed, Gary Sinise came to Walter Reed and he was visiting the injured soldiers. and they were like, "Hey, Gary Sinise is here. Like, if you want to meet him." And I was like, "Who is Gary Sinise?" And they're like, "Lieutenant Dan." And I was like, "Oh my God, I want to meet Lieutenant Dan. Absolutely, I want to meet Lieutenant Dan." Um, so so we waited for a while just to try to see if we could get in there. I had a surgery that was coming up, but they tried to push the surgery back a little bit just so I could try to meet Lieutenant Dan. And and then they pushed it back as far as they could, and they were like, "Hey man, like we have to get you into the OR. Like we don't have a choice now. Like we got it." And I was like, "Okay, well, dang, that sucks." I didn't get to meet him. And then yeah, I got done with the operation, and I came out, and I was like, "Is Lieutenant Dan still here? Like I want to meet Lieutenant Dan." And then that I never got a chance to. And then yeah, and then I get a call at a show. We just got done with sound check, and I get a call from a number that I didn't recognize, and I just answered it, and immediately I knew the voice on the other line, and I said, "Oh my God, Lieutenant Dan is freaking calling me! Like, he's calling me. What the hell?" Like immediately, I was like, "What is going on, man? Like something is happening." And then that's when he asked me if I wanted to be a part of that event, and if I wanted to make my Opry debut. And man, it was crazy.
Yeah.
And I again cried like a baby, dude. I just feel like I've been most of last year was just me crying. I feel like,
Yeah.
um,
Yep, me too.
yeah, but it was amazing, man. And it was so cool because literally like 2 weeks later, I got to go, since he moved the foundation, the Gary Sinise Foundation, he moved it to Franklin. I got to go to the Gary Sinise Foundation building and go see it. And I actually got to finally meet him. 13 years later, I finally got to meet him. And he walked in the room, dude, and I ran up to him and grabbed him up and gave him a big hug. And I was like, dude, 13 years I've been waiting for this. But yeah,
That's
it was awesome.
awesome.
It was awesome.
That
And
that is so cool,
yeah,
man.
and we've been,
Like,
and it's fostered a relationship. Like Gary, I have his cell phone number, which is crazy now to say. But it's gotten to the point where we're working on doing shows together and stuff. And
nice.
Gary has become he's an amazing person, and he has become a really good friend.
Isn't that one of the weirdest things, right? Like, I consider myself one of like the most normal,
Yeah,
everyday, run of the mill kind of people, right? And like I have been super fortunate with some of the stuff we've been able to do here, right?
yeah,
But like going back to what you just said, where I have some numbers in my phone where I'm like, why the hell do I have that person's
it's
number? Like that
crazy.
doesn't even make sense.
It's so crazy. Like there was like the other day, not maybe a month ago, I was going to do an event with Lee. Maybe it was a couple months ago. I was going to do an event with Lee Bryce, and someone asked me a question. I was like, I don't know. Let me just call him real quick. And I said, hold on.
Yeah.
I said I was going to call Lee Bryce.
Yeah,
Like, what the
right.
hell? Like, hold on. Can we
Yeah.
back up that I just said
Hmm.
that? Like, that's crazy. But yeah, it's insane. Like I'm meeting and becoming, in establishing relationships with people that like to me were always larger than life.
Yeah.
They were people that I heard on the radio, and people
Hmm.
that I met Garth Brooks, which was like his music is like the soundtrack of my childhood. And
Yeah.
like, yeah, man, I was like, what? And that was a whole, man, there's been so much this year that has been wild. Like the whole Garth Brooks interaction was wild.
Yeah.
um and yeah, man, it's been crazy, man.
How's your imposter syndrome?
Man, I feel like I don't belong most of the time, honestly.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
For real. I'm
Yeah.
like, what? Like, literally, I'll be on stage and I'll, like, I think I played, first time I ever played the Preds game, it's in Bridgestone, so
Hmm.
they have a stage in Bridgestone, and I'm playing it again March 20th. But they have a stage there, the Ford stage, and it's in Bridgestone. Like,
Yeah.
there was at one point where I talked on the mic and I said, hold on, I have to take a second. Like, I never thought like I would be here. Like, I'm in an
Right.
arena right now.
Right.
Like, there may be a hockey game happening, but I'm playing music in an arena. Like,
Yeah.
like, there's so many moments like that where I'm like,
Yeah.
dude, what am I doing here? Like,
Yeah.
what is my life?
Yeah. Yeah. It's wild. We've had moments and been at events, and it's like, the most random people will come up to you and be like, "Hey, you do this, that, and the other thing. Like, come here." And it's
Yeah,
like, "No thanks." Like,
man.
not no thanks, like because
Yeah,
you don't want to, but like, no, I'm just here to be me. you
yeah,
know?
man. I just feel like life anymore is just full with how the hell did that happen? you know,
Yeah.
like the Garth Brooks interaction. Like that was crazy. Like we got asked to go be part of Good Morning America, where they were like talking to him about his opening his bar down here, and they were like, "All right, Scotty, you're gonna actually ask Garth a question," and I was like, "Cool, that's
Yeah.
awesome." But before that ever happened, he came up and he was just like walking around the crowd and shaking hands, and I was like, "Hey Garth, it's so great to meet you. Like your music is like the soundtrack of my childhood. Like you made me fall in love with country music, blah blah blah." And he's like, "Oh man, that's so great, thank you." And I was like, "By the way, my name's Scotty Hasting. I didn't even freaking introduce myself. I was just like spewing how great you were."
Yeah. Yeah. Yep.
And he was like, "Scotty Hasting." He said, "Hold on, like I'm America's Scotty Hasting?" And I was like, "What? Like what? You, huh? Garth Brooks knows
Yeah.
my song? Like what?"
Right.
I was like,
Right.
"What? No, yeah. I mean, yeah, that's my song." He's like, "Man, I love that song." And I was like, "What is freaking happening right
Yeah.
now?
Yeah.
Like what?" And then on national TV, I got to ask him a question. And I don't remember what the question was. Honestly, that's not the important part. The important part is that at one point he said, he looked at me, he pointed at me, and he said, "Yeah, and he can sing his ass off too." And I was like, "What is going on, man? Like,
But
what the hell?" It is so funny, man. I have there like for like a good month afterwards, I had that on repeat. Like just
yeah.
Garth
Oh yeah.
telling me that I can sing my
Absolutely.
ass off.
As you do.
But it was just crazy, man. And there's
Yeah.
so many moments like that where I'm like, dude, what is my life, man?
Yeah.
Like it's
Yeah.
just so crazy.
Now I gotta. If you don't want to talk about it, we don't have to. But I think it's maybe important.
Yep.
What what got you into the military? Was that something that you were brought up with? Was that something you just said, "Hey, this is something I feel like I have to do"?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. For me, it was two different things. At the time I was playing baseball, I wasn't making any money. I had a family. I was with a woman who had a kid, and I needed a way to make sure that they were taken care of. And that was a little bit of it, but really the most important part of it was that I just felt like I needed to be a part of something. I felt like I lived very, selfishly for a long time. And I felt like I needed to just do something that mattered, be a part of something that meant something. And the military was it. It was something I felt like I had to do. And, not only that, but I was able to have a job that I knew was going to be there, that could help support this family that I was coming into. And yeah, that was really it, man. I should have played hard to get a little bit, because as it turns out, there was a signing bonus that I didn't get, because I was all like, "Heck yeah, I want to go." Uh, but it was something I felt like I always needed to do. Felt like something that I had to do.
that's awesome. I that to me, like, everybody goes in for different reasons, right? And sometimes people are just born into it, and well, dad did it, my granddad did it,
Mhm.
whatever, so I got to do it.
Yeah,
But like going in on your own accord and feeling like you have to do it.
yeah,
That's that. Because I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm probably one of the most selfish people I've ever met, and like I don't know if I could have ever done it.
yeah.
Not in a million years.
Yeah, I don't regret it, man. It's crazy. Like people are like, "Man, you got shot 10 times. Like, if you could go back in time, would you not do it?" And I was like, "No, I wouldn't change a damn thing. I would go back right now if I got the chance."
Really?
Yeah, hundred
I
percent.
mean, yeah. I mean, a lot of vets say that
Yeah,
where
I
they,
mean, man, there's nothing like it. I
yeah,
mean, yeah, I don't really know how to explain it, man. There's nothing like being in that situation with the guys, and with that camaraderie and that brotherhood, and
yeah.
there's just, yeah, man, there's nothing like it.
It's funny. My grandfather was a Marine in World War II, and he didn't talk about a thing
Yeah,
until my grandmother passed away,
yeah,
and then it was like the floodgates opened.
yeah,
And it was
mhm,
hearing stories from my dad about the way things were when he was growing up and how my grandfather was and all that. Like, I'm a big history guy too, so it's like hearing his stories and then hearing the stories of the family and all that. You
yeah,
know, it's like you understand it to an
Mhm.
extent. It's like, well, I mean, a lot of it makes sense. Um, so I can't. I would be remiss if I didn't thank you for your service,
I
and
appreciate
and
that.
and I know a lot of vets hate that and all that, but it's
Yeah.
without guys like you, we're not having this conversation. That's for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I appreciate that so much.
Yeah. So I guess I think Allie will send me an email if we don't talk about your song that's coming out. Uh,
Yes.
so let's talk about it. Let's.
So yeah, yeah, man. So with the first EP that we put out, I wanted, and with Black River behind me 100%, I wanted, with my music, I want to help people.
Yeah.
The only way that I can do that is if I open up my chest and let you see all of me, my heart, my
Sure.
soul, who I am. And with the first EP, that's the direction we wanted to go. I wanted to put How Do You Choose out. I wanted to put the stories that they tell. I wanted to put I'm America. I wanted to put all the things of exactly who I am and put it into an EP so that anyone who listened to it would understand. That being said, we realized we didn't put any fun songs in there. It's all like serious, like sad stuff. Um, so it's so funny. Like all my friends are like, dude, stop putting sad, serious stuff out. You're not that serious. Stop being serious. Um, so with this next release, Pro Beer, we wanted to kind of show my goofy, silly, fun side. I think from here on out, moving forward, it's going to be more showing another side of me. I showed you the serious, thoughtful, compassion. Like I showed you my heart and my soul, and now I want you to see another side. And
Yeah.
Pro Beer is definitely it. It's a fun, just silly song, but at the root of the song, it's just a song about bringing people together and
Yeah.
having fun and just enjoying the moment. And at the end of the day, that's what I want anyhow. So
Right.
it's like, man, like this song is silly and it's fun, yeah, but it still stays with what I'm trying to do in my music. It's still a song that talks about bringing people together. There's something incredible about music in the sense that you could take two people who are complete opposites, and then you put on a song and they can come together and scream it together.
Yeah.
I mean, you put on, Believe by Journey. It doesn't matter what anyone freaking believes in or whatever, they're gonna
It's true.
sing this song together.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, I mean, it's just there's just something so special about that, and I wanted to put out a song that was kind of at that level where hopefully people just come together and they sang it and just have a good time.
Now, how long did it take? Did it just kind of come out?
No, that song was pitched to me.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I'm at the point in my career now where not only do I
Let them come to
write,
you, buddy.
not only do I write some of the stuff, but I get pitched some amazing songs, man. And
That's
there's
awesome.
there's incredible songwriters out here. And so, I've always made it a point that like I want to hear songs from songwriters. I want to hear them. I want to be pitched. I want to hear these songs because honestly, songwriting and the songwriters in Nashville are the backbone of Nashville. I mean, that's what founded this whole city, is the songwriters and
Hmm.
people telling stories. And I want to do my part to try to keep that alive, and I want to do because there's a hell of a lot smarter people out there that can write way better songs than me. So if I can take, a song that they wrote and, but the only thing is with that song, it has to be a part of who I am.
Yeah.
It has to be a part of what I'm trying to do. And it has to be, it has to be me. And yeah, this song came across and it's hilarious, man. And it was exact. As soon as I heard it, I was like, I have to record this song. Like I have to. Like this song is so fun, and honestly, it's been in the set list for about a year now. And it seems to be everyone's favorite.
That's
So,
awesome.
so it was a no brainer, man. We had to do it, and it's so much fun. And I
Yeah.
really think and it's cool. Like we have a video coming out for it that is again super goofy and fun, and the song is very Toby Keithish, And we have, you know, in the video, I have a red Solo cup and it has a TK on it with a heart around it, and just to try to pay homage to, you know, Toby Keith, because
Yeah.
I mean his song, you know, should have been a cowboy, changed everything for me.
It
That
it
was the
really did.
song. That was the song that I played on stage that made me realize that this is what I wanted and needed to do forever. And I
Yeah.
wanted to try to pay back in some way, shape, or form, or to celebrate this amazing person that changed everything for me.
Now, with you being where you are, right, with songs coming to you, do you have songwriters that you're like, you're just waiting for that person to send you a song, and you're
Oh
like, I don't
my
give a
God,
shit
yes,
what the song
hundred
is, I'm
percent,
gonna do it.
100%. I mean, Ashley Gurley, Gorley, if you're listening to this, hit
If
me up, hit me
Ashley
up.
Gurley,
All right,
if you're listening to this, I
Ashley
don't
Gurley,
know.
if you're listening, you know,
Right,
um,
right,
I mean, that's that man has had a crazy career, man. Like
yeah,
what, 80 number ones or something
yeah.
like that. Like,
Like, he's great. Don't get me wrong, but I'm a Jonathan Singleton kind of guy.
oh man, I would take a song from him all day too.
Dude,
Let's
like he
go.
could talk about, I went on Spotify the other day because they have like those writers now where they have
Mhm.
like, oh, songs written by such and such.
Yeah.
And like I was looking at it, I'm like, shit, like really?
Oh
Really?
man.
Like I knew all
I
the
mean,
Luke Combs stuff because I'm a huge Luke guy, but like I was like, wow.
yeah, yeah, it's crazy,
Wow.
man. I mean, there's definitely, you know, writers that I want to get stuff from, like, you know, send me whatever. But there's also, you know, I would love to get in that room with them.
Right.
You know,
Oh
like
yeah.
Ray Fulcher. Ray Fulcher
Ray
is an incredible songwriter.
Ray
Uh,
and I Ray and I used to talk quite a bit, and I love that dude.
yeah,
He is
yeah,
such a
I
good
just got
dude.
it set up. Me and him are going to get in a room and write together. He is an amazing songwriter.
Oh, so good.
Incredible songwriter. And you know, it's really cool. Like Doug Johnson, who is our A&R guy here, I mean, he is one of the greatest songwriters I've ever met. I mean, he wrote, you know, Three Wooden Crosses, he wrote Love Like Crazy, he wrote If She's Lonely Now She Won't Be Lonely Long. I mean, songs that are just amazing, songs that'll live
Yeah.
forever. Three Wooden Crosses will literally be a song that lives forever.
Yeah.
um and you know, I've been blessed enough to be in a room a lot with him,
Yeah.
and with that also comes other songwriters that he writes with all the time that are also amazing country, like amazing songwriters. And I've been super lucky and super blessed to just be, you know, there. And a lot of times when I'm in those rooms with these amazing songwriters, I just kind of sit back and just watch how everything happens. I mean, they've been doing it, especially like, you know, Doug's level. Like, he's been writing songs for decades. You know, I
Yeah.
mean, it's like I just want to see how he does it. Like, I don't know how anyone comes up with songs as fast as he does. And he always has something. He always has a melody in his mind. It's so funny. Like, if you ever meet Doug or you ever walk by him, he's always making noise. He's always like, he's always making some type of noise. He's
Yeah.
always got melodies flowing in his head, man. And it's incredible. And it's, you know, that's, you know, people like that, you know, and songwriting, you know, that needs to be cherished, man. And it needs to be protected, especially
Yeah.
in this industry.
In that, speaking of that, in that Luke Combs writers round, I guess you could call it, that another person I think doesn't get as much credit as he should is Drew Parker.
Oh, yes. Drew Parker's great.
Drew, Drew, my God, like that
Yeah.
dude can write a song too, and it's a shame because like he's had some hits for Luke, but like even his own stuff is
Yeah.
just
Oh, yeah.
talk about sit and cry, Scotty.
Man, I mean, there's so many amazing songwriters out here, man. It's crazy, you
Yeah,
know, and you never know. I mean, here at Black River, we have incredible songwriters. I
yeah,
mean, it's just it's wild, man. It's insane.
yeah. You know, I, I can't. I know Allie's got me on a strict time limit, and I'm only busting Allie because I know she's sitting right there.
Mhm.
What'd you say?
Just said hi.
um, but I told Allie last week or whatever that we're releasing this as my birthday episode.
Oh, well, happy birthday, man.
Thanks, man.
Heck
And
yeah.
we're on year 4 of this now, so this will be my 3rd birthday episode,
Yeah.
and this has been by far my most favorite
Oh, man,
so
I
far.
appreciate that. Thank you so much.
Yeah,
That's
when Allie, when you and I have been shooting the shit on Instagram about it and
Mhm.
getting on and all that stuff, and when the dates started to line up and I knew it, I was like, this is gonna be the one.
Oh,
This is
man.
gonna be the one.
I love that. I appreciate that so much, man.
Yeah, anytime. And like for me, right, doing this show has been like it's been a huge honor. The people I've been able to talk to, it is caused a lot of strife in my personal life.
Mm,
Um, but I have cried a lot on this podcast
yeah.
in the last year, and I gotta say, man, talking to you has like made a lot of things make a lot of sense.
Well, I appreciate that, man.
So no,
And,
I appreciate you.
I'm always available, man. If you
Yeah,
talk, message me, man.
yeah, I will because
Absolutely.
there's a lot of things we could get into that right now is at the time,
Yeah,
but
for sure.
um,
And that's with what I want to do, with the wanting to help people, and with my music or my story, whatever it is, like I have to be accessible. So
yeah,
I see the messages. I mean, if it's not crazy, I will definitely respond to it.
yeah,
Um, and that's the only way I can help, man,
yeah,
is for people to feel like they can actually talk.
yeah. It's again, I can't thank you enough to respond for responding, and everybody over at you know Allie and everybody else, like
Yeah.
it's I've worked with a lot of PR people,
Mm.
right, and I've never had anybody more responsive than Allie in my entire life.
Good.
And I'm
Yeah.
not just saying that because she's there.
Hey,
I was going to email her that anyway, but
she is great at her job, and honestly, like Gordon Kerr, the president and CEO of Black River, has done an amazing job putting together the team that he has here. I
yeah,
mean, they're family,
yeah,
I mean, and it's very apparent very quickly when you come in here,
right.
that this is family.
Even if she is a Bills and Sabres fan,
Well,
can't can't win them all, I guess.
yeah, well,
Well, Scotty, I'll let you do your thing, man. Again, I thank you from the bottom of my heart for coming on and being a part of this with us.
yeah, thank you, man. I really
Anytime,
appreciate it.
anytime. So promote yourself, do all that
Yeah, yeah. Follow
cliche
me.
podcast stuff.
Yeah, follow me on all social platforms at Scotty Hasting Music, ScottyHasting.com. I got a new song coming out March 7th, Pro Beer. Go check it out. Yeah, got a show coming up March 15th in Paxton, Illinois. And then March 20th, I'm playing the Preds game. Let's
Nice.
go.
Well, man, keep killing, man, and
Yep.
we'll make sure we get you back on here again when we don't have to promote anything.
I appreciate it,
All
man.
right.
Absolutely.
All right, Scotty. Thanks a lot, brother. We'll talk to you soon.
All right. Thank you. And happy
All right.
birthday again, man.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Thanks.
All right. Bye.
Bye. Well, there you have it, everyone. Our episode with Scotty Hastings. Again, Scotty, thank you from the bottom of my heart for being here, making our birthday episode one of the best we've had so far. Um, for those of you keeping score, keeping track, go check out Scotty's stuff. Again, new single out Friday. Speaking of Friday, we will be going to see Blake Shelton at the Garden here in Boston. A lot of cool stuff going on at that show, so stay tuned for that. Um, and that's really it. A good big thank you to DCU Center, Off the Rails, LH Coffee, who else? Bar Book, all of our friends, all of our sponsors, all of our people. And thank you guys for being here. So if it's your first time or not your first time, thank you for being here. Like I said, without you, this show goes nowhere. Until next week, guys, keep those boots on the ground and the whiskey in the glass. Cheers, guys. Thank you so much.